The Atlantic waves crashed against the shore as I sat on my wraparound porch enjoying my morning coffee. After 15 years of working 60-hour weeks as a corporate lawyer, this view was my reward. The beach house had been my parents' wedding anniversary gift to me 3 months ago. A thank you for handling their legal affairs and being the responsible one all these years. I hadn't asked for it. In fact, I tried to refuse, knowing it would cause drama with my younger brother James. But my parents insisted. "You've earned this, Sarah," Dad had said, pressing the keys into my hand. "We're not getting any younger, and we want to see you enjoy it while we're still here." The house needed work. Lots of it. I'd spent every weekend for the past 3 months renovating, replacing the worn carpets with hardwood floors, updating the kitchen, fixing the plumbing. My savings were nearly depleted, but it was worth it. This was my dream home. I was just taking another sip of coffee when I heard them, the rumble of engines, tires crunching on the shell driveway. 3 moving trucks pulled up, their diesel engines idling loudly. My stomach dropped as a familiar black Mercedes followed behind them. James stepped out, designer sunglasses perched on his nose, that signature smirk on his face. He was wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, though I knew he was 3 months behind on his rent. "Morning, sis," he called out, waving a manila envelope. "Got some paperwork for you." I set down my coffee cup, my hands suddenly trembling. "What are you doing here, James?" He bounded up the porch steps, still grinning. "Dad called last night, said there was a mistake with the deed. Turns out this place was always meant for me. You were just—" "What did he say?" "Oh yeah, house sitting until I got back from Europe." I stared at him, trying to process his words. "That's impossible. Mom and Dad gave me this house. I have the paperwork." "Had the paperwork," he corrected, pulling documents from his envelope. "Dad filed new ones yesterday. All legal and proper. You can check. I know how you love doing that." My legal training kicked in as I scanned the documents. They looked legitimate. New deed, transfer of ownership, all with Dad's signature. But something felt off. "I'm calling Dad," I said, pulling out my phone. "Go ahead," James shrugged. "He's expecting your call." As I dialed, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Don't tell him about the hidden safe." I paused, my finger hovering over Dad's number. A hidden safe. In 30 years of visiting this house, I'd never known about any safe. "Everything okay, sis?" James asked, his tone mockingly concerned. "You look confused. Need help packing?" The moving men were already unloading boxes from their trucks. This was really happening. I pressed call and waited. Dad answered on the third ring. "Sarah, I was just about to call you," he said, his voice unusually tight. "There's been a development. Dad James is here with moving trucks and new paperwork. He says you gave him the house. What's going on?" There was a long pause. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Your brother's business venture in Europe, well, it didn't go as planned. He needs a fresh start, and that house, it was always meant to be an investment property." "An investment property?" I felt my voice rising. "You gave it to me as a gift. I've spent my savings renovating it." "And we'll compensate you for that," he said quickly. "James has some excellent opportunities lined up, once they pay off." Like his last excellent opportunities, I cut in. The cryptocurrency scheme, the yacht charter business, the organic coconut water startup. "That's not fair, Sarah. Your brother is trying." "And what about me? I've worked my entire adult life to build something real. I've never asked for handouts. The one time you gave me something, you're taking it back for him." Another pause. "Sarah, please try to understand." "No, Dad, you try to understand. I'm not leaving." I hung up and turned to James, who was directing the movers toward the front door. "Get your trucks off my property," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. James laughed. "Your property? Did you not read the paperwork? This is my house now." "We'll see about that." I pulled out my phone again, this time calling the police. As I did, I remembered Mom's text about the safe. What was in there? And why didn't she want Dad to know about it? The local police arrived 20 minutes later. Officer Martinez, who I'd met during one of my renovation supply runs to town, stepped onto the porch. "Miss Thompson," she nodded. "What seems to be the problem?" James immediately stepped forward with his paperwork. "Just a misunderstanding, officer. My sister's having trouble accepting that our father transferred ownership of this property to me." Officer Martinez reviewed the documents and turned to me. These appear to be in order, ma'am. They were filed yesterday, I said. I have the original deed and gift transfer from 3 months ago. This is my primary residence now. Then this becomes a civil matter, Officer Martinez said. Neither party can force the other to leave without a court order. Mr. Thompson, your movers will have to leave until this is resolved legally. James's smirk finally faltered. But Dad said, Dad's not here, I cut in. And I'm not leaving. After the police left, James lingered on the porch, his confident facade cracking slightly. You're being ridiculous, he said. Just take a compensation and go. You don't even like the beach. I love the beach. You're the one who gets sunburned after 10 minutes. I stood my ground. Why do you really want this house, James? He looked away, adjusting his expensive watch. It's not about wanting it. I need it. The European venture. There are some people who aren't happy with how things turned out. You mean investors you scammed? I didn't scam anyone, he snapped. The market changed. Things happened that were beyond my control. But this property, I can leverage it, make things right. By taking out loans against it, selling it to pay your debts? His silence was answer enough. Go home, James, I said quietly. I'm calling my lawyer. Your lawyer? Against Dad's paperwork? Good luck with that. As he walked back to his Mercedes, I remembered Mom's text again. With James gone, I could look for the safe. But first, I needed to understand what was really going on. I called Mom, but it went straight to voicemail. Instead, I got another text. Check behind the painting in the master bedroom. The blue seascape. Hurry. My heart pounding, I went upstairs. The painting had been there as long as I could remember. A moody seascape that Dad always said reminded him of his childhood in Maine. I carefully lifted it off the wall. There it was, the wall safe with a digital keypad. But what was the code? My phone buzzed again. Mom had sent a series of numbers. 061,819. June 18, 2019. The date Dad first showed signs of his memory problems, though he'd insisted nothing was wrong. I punched in the numbers. The safe clicked open. Inside was a thick folder of documents, a USB drive, and a handwritten letter addressed to me in Dad's familiar handwriting. But it looked older, the ink slightly faded. Dear Sarah, it began. If you're reading this, then things have happened as I feared they might. I sank onto the bed, my hands shaking as I read my father's words. The truth about the house, about James's business ventures, about Dad's declining mental state. It was all there in black and white, written 3 years ago when Dad was still fully himself. The house had never been just a gift. It was protection for all of us. My phone rang again. James. Found the safe yet, sis? His voice was different now, harder. Dad told me about it years ago. Said there were some interesting documents inside. Why don't you save us all some trouble and hand them over? I looked at the papers in my lap, at Dad's signature on the letter, strong and clear, nothing like the shaky scrawl on James's new deed. No, I said firmly. I don't think I will. Don't be stupid, Sarah. You've always been the sensible one. Think about Dad's reputation. About the family name. I am thinking about the family, I replied. All of it, including the parts you and Dad have been hiding. I hung up and turned back to the documents. It was going to be a long night, but for the first time since those moving trucks appeared, I felt steady. The waves crashed outside my window and my house, as I began to read. The morning light filtered through the blinds as I spread the documents from the safe across my dining room table. I hadn't slept, spending the entire night reading through years of hidden history. My father's letter had only been the beginning. The USB drive contained spreadsheets, bank statements, and emails. A digital trail of James' business ventures that were actually elaborate schemes to siphon money from our family's accounts. But the most shocking revelation came from a series of medical reports dated 3 years ago. Dad had early onset dementia. He'd hidden it from everyone except Mom, documenting his decline while he was still lucid enough to do so. The house transfer to me wasn't just a gift. It was a protective measure, placing our family's most valuable asset in the hands of the only child he trusted to preserve it. My phone had been buzzing constantly since dawn. James, Dad, even a few calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the document in front of me, A handwritten confession from my father about James's latest European venture. The doorbell rang, startling me from my reading. Through the peephole, I saw Mom standing there, looking exhausted. I had to park 2 blocks away, she said as I let her in. James has people watching the house. People? I felt a chill despite the warm morning. Some of his investors followed him back from Europe. She sank into a chair. Did you read everything? I nodded. Why didn't you tell me about Dad's condition sooner? He made me promise not to. She looked at the scattered papers. He wanted to handle it his way, protect everyone as long as he could. But James, he figured it out. Started using Dad's confusion to his advantage. The new deed. James caught him on a bad day, convinced him that the original transfer to you was a mistake. She pulled out her phone, showing me a video. I recorded it without them knowing. The footage showed James and Dad's study, pushing papers in front of our clearly disoriented father. Remember, Dad, you promised the beach house would be my fresh start. Sarah was just holding it temporarily. I did. Dad looked confused, but I thought, just sign here. Trust me, it's what you wanted. I felt sick watching it. This invalidates the new deed. It's elder abuse. Yes, but exposing it means exposing your father's condition. The family business, his reputation, everything he's built, it would all come under scrutiny. And James knows this. The pieces clicked into place. That's why he's so confident. Mom reached for my hand. Sarah, there's something else you need to know. The house, it's not just a house. What do you mean? Your grandfather built it in 1962. He was involved in some high-profile legal cases, needed a place to store sensitive information. The safe you found isn't the only one. I stared at her. There's more. A larger one, hidden in the foundation. Your father converted it years ago, used it to store evidence of every questionable deal he was ever asked to oversee as corporate counsel. Insurance, he called it. The implications hit me, and James wants to find it. He thinks selling that information would solve his problems, pay off his debts. She shook her head. He doesn't understand that releasing it would destroy dozens of lives, including his own. A sharp knock at the door made us both jump. Through the window, I saw James' Mercedes parked in my driveway, blocking it completely. Sarah, his voice carried through the door. Open up. I know Mom's in there. I moved to call the police again, but Mom grabbed my arm. Wait, let me talk to him first. Mom, no. But she was already heading to the door. I followed, documents clutched to my chest. James burst in the moment the door opened. He looked disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. Found the safe, did you? Hand over the contents, Sarah. This isn't the game. No, it isn't. I agreed. How many people did you defraud in Europe, James? The documents suggest at least 30 investors. He flinched. You don't understand. I can fix everything. That foundation's safe. The information in there is worth millions to the right buyers. It's worth prison sentences, Mom cut in. For everyone involved, including you. Then we all better make sure it stays hidden. His tone turned threatening. Give me the house, Sarah. Walk away, or I'll have to. Have to what? I interrupted. Force me out. Expose Dad's condition. Release the documents yourself. I held up my phone. While you were talking, I sent copies of everything from the first safe to my law firm. If anything happens to me or to this house, it all goes public. James's face went pale. You're bluffing. Try me. I've spent 15 years building a reputation as the responsible one, remember? My word against yours. No contest. He turned to Mom. Are you going to let her do this, after everything Dad did to protect the family? She's protecting the family, Mom replied. From you? The sound of cars pulling up made us all turn. Through the window, I saw 2 police vehicles and a silver sedan I recognized as belonging to Martin Walsh, my law firm's senior partner. I called them before coming over, Mom explained. They need to see the video of you manipulating your father. James stumbled back. You can't. I'll lose everything. No, I said firmly. You'll get help. Real help, not another bailout. But first, you'll sign a new deed, returning the house to me. Then we'll talk about how to handle your investors. And if I refuse, then the police out there get everything, the fraud, the coercion, all of it. Your choice. He looked between us, his arrogance finally crumbling. I need time to think. You have 5 minutes, I said, pointing to the papers on my dining table. Choose wisely. As James stared at the documents that detailed his crimes, I caught Mom's eye. She gave me a slight nod, proud, sad, and relieved all at once. The waves crashed steadily outside, their rhythm unchanged by the drama unfolding within these walls, my home. And this time, I knew nobody would be taking it from me. 3 weeks had passed since James signed the house back to me under the watchful eyes of the police and my law firm's partner. The morning sun streamed through my newly cleaned windows as I reviewed the rehabilitation facility's latest report on his progress. After a complete breakdown in my dining room, James had agreed to enter a high-end treatment center specializing in addiction and compulsive behavior. The truth had finally emerged. His business ventures weren't just scams. They were symptoms of a gambling addiction that had spiraled out of control in Europe's exclusive casinos. "Ms. Thompson," a voice called from my front door. It was Dennis Miller, the forensic accountant hired by my firm to untangle James's financial mess. "Come in," I called back, setting aside the report. "Any progress?" Dennis spread his files across my kitchen counter, his expression grim. "We've identified most of the investors. The total damage is," he hesitated, adjusting his glasses, "approximately $4.2 million. I felt my stomach clench. "That's more than we estimated. Your brother was very creative with his bookkeeping. The good news is we've frozen all his accounts and located about $800,000 in recoverable assets. And the bad news? 3 of the investors are refusing to negotiate. They're demanding full repayment within 30 days or they'll go public with everything." I sighed, looking out at the ocean. The waves that usually brought me peace now seemed to mock the turbulent situation. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Dad's having a good day. He's asking for you." I hadn't seen my father since the confrontation with James. The video evidence of his manipulation had forced us to finally acknowledge Dad's condition publicly, at least within the family. He'd been moved to a specialized care facility where doctors could properly monitor his decline. "I need to go," I told Dennis. "Can you draft a preliminary repayment proposal for the investors?" He nodded, gathering his papers. "Just be careful, Sarah. Some of these people, they're not the type to accept partial payments gracefully." I drove to Sunset Grove, the private care facility that now housed my father. The irony of its peaceful name wasn't lost on me. Mom was waiting in the parking lot. "He's lucid today," she said, hugging me. "Remembers everything, including what happened with James and the house." We found Dad sitting in the facility's garden, a chessboard in front of him. He looked smaller somehow, his once commanding presence diminished by illness and guilt. "Sarah," he smiled, seeing me. "I hoped you'd come today. We need to talk about the foundation's safe." I glanced at Mom, who nodded encouragingly. "The contents," Dad continued, his voice stronger now. "They're not just insurance policies anymore. They're leverage." "What do you mean?" "Your grandfather didn't just store evidence in that safe. He stored solutions." Dad moved a chess piece absently. "Every document in there has a counterpart, a way to fix what was broken, if handled correctly." I sat across from him, studying his face. "Are you saying there might be something in there that could help with James's situation?" "Smart girl," he smiled again. "The combination is your birthday. I changed it years ago, when I first suspected, when I knew I might not always remember things clearly." "Robert," Mom warned, "are you sure about this?" "It's time, Margaret. Sarah needs to know everything." He turned back to me. "The safe is behind the north wall of the wine cellar. You'll know which panel when you see it." I drove home with my mind racing, Mom's words echoing in my head. "Be careful with whatever you find. Some secrets are kept hidden for good reasons." The wine cellar had been one of the first things I renovated, but I'd never noticed anything unusual about its walls. Now, examining the north side carefully, I saw it, a slight variation in the pattern of the wooden panels. My birthday. 09 to 1583. The panel slid aside silently, revealing a safe considerably larger than the one upstairs. Inside were dozens of files, each marked with dates going back decades. I spent hours reading through them, understanding now why my grandfather and father had kept them hidden. These weren't just records of questionable deals. They were carefully constructed contingency plans for worst-case scenarios. And in a file dated 1987, I found something interesting. A list of names, prominent families, and businesses in the area, including several that appeared in James's investor records. My phone rang, startling me. Unknown number. Ms. Thompson. A heavily accented voice. We should discuss your brother's debts. Who is this? Someone who lost a great deal of money trusting James Thompson. You have 27 days to arrange full repayment. And if I don't, then perhaps the local media would be interested in your father's condition, how he was manipulated, the questions that would raise about his legal practice over the years. I looked at the file in my hands, then smiled. Before you finish that threat, you might want to ask your father about Anderson Manufacturing, 1987. A long pause. What did you say? Tell him Sarah Thompson suggests he review the terms of that particular arrangement. Then call me back if you still want to discuss James's debt. I hung up, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Dad was right. These weren't just secrets. They were solutions. Over the next few days, I made similar calls to other investors, each time armed with information from the safe. Some responded with anger, others with disbelief, but eventually with understanding. By week's end, we had negotiated reasonable repayment terms for James's debts. I visited him at the rehabilitation center, bringing the final agreement papers. How did you do it? He asked, looking better than he had in months. Those investors, they were out for blood. Let's just say Dad and Grandpa were better at contingency planning than either of us knew. I handed him a pen. Sign these, stick to the treatment program, and you'll get a fresh start. A real one this time. He signed without arguing, then looked up at me. The house. I never really wanted it, you know. I just needed. I know, I said softly. But next time you need help, try asking for it directly. As I drove home along the coastal road, the setting sun painted the ocean in shades of gold. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Dad's asking about dinner at the beach house. Like old times? Too soon? I smiled, piping back. Never too soon for family. A real family. The house stood waiting, its windows reflecting the last light of day. My home, yes, but also something more. A keeper of secrets, a protector of family, a foundation stronger than any storm. Just like me. 1 year later, I stood on my porch watching the sunset, just as I had that morning when James showed up with his moving trucks. So much had changed, yet the rhythm of the waves remained constant, a reminder that some foundations never shake. The renovation was finally complete. The house gleamed with fresh paint, new windows, and restored dignity. But its true transformation went deeper than appearances. Tonight was special, our first full family dinner since everything had happened. Mom's car pulled up first, carrying a casserole and her nervous energy. Dad followed in the care facility's transport van, having earned weekend privileges through his remarkable progress with the new treatment protocol. The stairs looked different, he remarked as I helped him onto the porch. Same stairs, Dad, just new memories. James arrived last, driving a modest sedan instead of his former luxury car. 1 year of rehabilitation, therapy, and honest work had changed him more than any business venture ever could. He was now working as a financial counselor for other recovering addicts, using his experience to help rather than harm. I brought wine, he said, holding up a bottle. Non-alcoholic, of course. The dinner table, the same one where we'd confronted his deceptions a year ago, now held a very different gathering. Mom's casserole steamed beside Dad's favorite seafood dish. James had brought dessert, and I had managed not to burn the rolls. Before we eat, Dad said, his voice clearer than it had been in months, I want to say something. He looked around the table, his eyes bright with recognition and love. This house, it was built to protect secrets, but its greatest strength turned out to be revealing truths. Mom squeezed his hand as he continued. Sarah, you didn't just save this house. You saved our family. And James, he turned to my brother, you didn't just lose a property. You found yourself. James nodded, emotion crossing his face. I found my sister too, the one I should have had all along. The foundation safe remains sealed below us, its contents still important but no longer urgent. We've learned that the real insurance policy wasn't in documents or evidence, but in the bonds we chose to protect. After dinner, we sat on the porch watching the stars emerge. Dad dozed in his favorite chair, Mom knitted beside him, and James helped me carry out coffee. Remember when I showed up here with those moving trucks? He asked quietly. Hard to forget. I was so desperate then, so sure that taking this house would solve everything. He shook his head. I never saw what it really was. And what's that? A lighthouse, he said with a small smile. A place that shows you the way home, even in the darkest storms. Later, after everyone had left, I walked along the beach in the moonlight. The waves whispered secrets of their own, about strength, about change, about the difference between owning a house and building a home. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Dad remembered everything at dinner. Doctor says it's his best day in months. Thank you for giving him this. I looked back at my house, my lighthouse, standing proud against the night sky. Its windows glowed warmly, no longer hiding shadows but sharing light. The next morning, I sipped my coffee on the porch just as I had that day a year ago. But this time, when I heard vehicles approaching, they were just the regular sounds of a neighborhood waking up. No moving trucks, no dramatic entrances, no documents to overturn my world. Just peace, built on a foundation stronger than any safe could protect. The foundation of truth, healing, and family restored. The waves rolled in, constant as ever, but now they seemed to carry a different message. Some gifts, once truly earned, can never be taken away.